Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, right, okay. So again, just coming into that. So coming into the match again, I'll probably try and cut this out a little bit, but coming into this, obviously, one place to start in terms of Harry Kane obviously getting his 200th goal. Just get your thoughts on obviously what that means to the Tottenham fan base and how that means for you in terms of that achievement.
It's amazing to witness that. It's amazing to witness another Jimmy Greaves. You know, a lot of Tottenham fans thought they'd never see another Jimmy Greaves, and then there came Harry Kane, a player that was loaned out so many times: Leyton Orient, Norwich, Millwall, Leicester. Um, you know, he was a striker who we thought wasn't really going to make it. We were stuck with strikers where it all started between Soldado and Adebayor, who are just both underperforming so much to their value. And Kane just had his breakthrough season, and he's been almost consistent in every single season of either getting the golden boot or competing for the golden boot. And for him to have scored that goal, to be honest, I didn't even clock until after he scored when it showed up on the screens of Harry Kane's new record broken. And yeah, it meant so much for us Tottenham fans. It was incredible. It was amazing. And I really cannot fault the guy because he's done so much for this club already. And he's out there breaking records. And don't let any, I won't swear on this, don't let any nitwit tell you that Kane is not a relevant striker because he hasn't won any. You know, when we don't even know if he's going to overtake Alan Shearer in the charts. But are you really telling me that because Kane is so irrelevant, when you Google, you know, Premier League top goal scorers in, let's say, 5-10 years time, you're just going to skip Harry Kane's name and carry on scrolling down? It's stupid. He's a Premier League great in his own way and his own right. Yes, it's bad if he hasn't won anything major, but to be in the all-time Premier League goal scorers on that list, that is a huge achievement as an individual player, and no one can say otherwise. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, you're right. Again, it's a massive achievement for. Again, there's players that have been good, but they've not done it for that consistent period of time. And you've seen again, although they've had good seasons, then they've kind of come down. And Harry Kane's still there, and that's the thing. So again, you were mentioning the amount of loans. Again, he was mentioning he came to Leicester. I don't know if you remember much from the time. I remember him going, "Who's this guy? Not very good at all." Can't believe it's the same player that came to us. Genuinely, because I remember seeing him going, he's a bit clumsy, can't really sort his feet out, doesn't really, his head's not in the right space. I don't know what's Tottenham, and I can't believe that's the same guy that's like putting it in for you.
I told you just before this stream that you should have let him take the penalty and not Knockout. You know what I mean?
Oh, you remember that? Oh, jeez, yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember watching it on TV because my school was in Hertfordshire, so we had so many Watford fans. So I gave that a watch at the time. And to be fair, though, I mean, as a Leicester fan, I doubt you'd really care. You still moved on to really big and better things, just, you know, regardless to that playoff semi-final loss. I'm sure it still hurts you from time to time when you think about it, but you know, you've moved on to really good and unbelievable things.
But that's the thing. So it hurt at the time because I remember just sitting on the floor after watching that, just going,
yeah,
oh, man, that was hard. And you know, you've been in, like, you've seen your team go through just the same things as well. But from then, we've actually gone on to like win stuff. Yeah. We've gone on to be in the Premier League because we thought that was the only time. Because bearing in mind, a few years ago, that 10 years ago, I just thought Leicester City were a championship team. That's all we were good for. And now we've obviously come up and there's obviously expectations changing things. But yeah, I think again, it's interesting. Again, you probably had the same thing with Tottenham as well, obviously on the Pochettino era, where you saw, right, we're consistently performing. And you see at the same time where there's certain fan bases, that certain bits of the fan base that go, right, we should be competing in this. And somebody goes, remember how crap we were. So it's a weird dynamic. As you go to the ground, you feel that, again, the expectations are kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's a strange one for us in particular because we're playing much better football in terms of the league, but in terms of ambition and silverware, we're just not reaching that. It's been a complete zero reach. Like it's been somewhat shocking, very embarrassing, if I've got to be honest with you. I mean, I remember, well, no, I don't remember because I wasn't alive at the time, but when Tottenham beat title-winning Arsenal in the FA Cup semi-finals and then went on to win the competition, you know, Gaz, Paul Gascoigne's infamous free kick and that. We finished as a mid-table side, I think, or if not lower. Again, I wasn't alive, so I wouldn't know where exactly we finished. But we still showed ambition with like pockets of, you know, some average, some mediocre players who, you know, are now like halftime guests of like, oh, this player has won this trophy back in 1980 or 1990 something and whatnot. And then, of course, you had your world-class Paul Gascoigne. Now, you've got well, now I think most of them have declined, but Kane and Son, even though he's not having a great season, you've got all these like class players and, you know, in the past, and what you're going to bring them on for a halftime guest appearance for? You know, what have we remembered them just as that poch side that played good, entertaining football, but didn't achieve or win anything? You know, it's getting to that point where, you know, all these elderly Spurs players that they are now, like Cliff Jones, you know, Jimmy Greaves sadly passed away. They're all going to go. And then we've got like nobody in the halftime guests, let's say, who we can bring on if we don't get our action together to achieve something. And, you know, obviously, of course, we're in an FA Cup run now. We got Sheffield United coming up, but I just, with Lloris now also injured, you know, even though Foster is our cup goalkeeper, I can't really see us achieving anything this season, unfortunately. And it leads to questions whether Kane will stay, Conte will stay. So, you know, just like your fair share of doubts and, you know, worries, we've got that too.
Yeah, so and that's one thing I was going to move on to. Obviously, Lloris being injured, that's probably one of the big news, even going around the Leicester fan base. Obviously, that's a good thing. But how's he been this season in terms of, I know he's obviously injured for the game, but I've heard mixed things in terms of, we all know there's a little bit of a slip in him. However, he's still a great goalkeeper. So what have you made of Lloris this season?
I have not been impressed with Lloris at all. I think he has seriously let us down in a lot of games, especially the Arsenal one, you know, at home, to have lost to your rivals at home. I'm not taking anything away from Arsenal. I think, you know, they did deserve to win. But if you really narrow it down to how they scored their goals, it wasn't because of their great performance. It was because of Lloris' mistakes for both of them. One for the own goal, when Saka was literally at a tight angle and Lloris punches it in or something. And then the other, when he's not covering his line properly and Odegaard had a shot and scored. So I said in the January transfer window that instead of putting all your eggs in one basket and save it for the very last day on Pedro Porro, we also needed to get a centre-back and a goalkeeper. Realistically, was that going to happen? No. But there were options for goalkeepers out there. And, you know, we're now in a situation, we were in a situation where we're not happy with neither goalkeeper. And now we're in a situation where some fickle fans who are crying for Lloris to leave are now losing their shit, saying, oh, why didn't we get another goalkeeper? Foster's not good enough, this, that, the other. So it's just like really inconsistent opinions on Lloris, but I've said since before the World Cup, you know, I think weeks before the World Cup, that Lloris's distribution has been such a downfall. His shot stopping is now starting to become a downfall, because just like what happened against Aston Villa for Danny Ings, he literally punched the ball straight at Danny Ings' goal. And then on top of that, looking further into his distribution, he keeps putting pressure when playing from the back and passing to a centre-back or a wing-back who doesn't feel confident or doesn't feel ready to win the ball and carry on playing it from the back. And when he does make the clearance, it always comes to an opposition player, and the defence cannot see that one out. So we need a new goalkeeper, 100%. I would love to have either Sanchez from Brighton or David Raya from Brentford. Pickford, not 100% on him, but again, it'd be much better than having Lloris. And I think now that because you beat Aston Villa 4-2, this ain't going to be a walk in the park like when we beat you 6-2, even though we didn't actually even play that well. And I know you and me have discussed that a lot. I think you lot will be really up for it. There's head-to-head stats-wise, there is not a big gap between Spurs and Leicester in terms of wins. So this result could go anyway. There'll be guaranteed goals, I'm sure. But I think your 4-2 win against Villa is a big boost for your squad, confidence-wise.
It is, because considering 6 wins all season, and we were looking at again, we've spoke pretty much every week in terms of on Shameless FC, and just in general, we've talked about how crap Leicester have been, considering the squad that we have and how good it is, and we shouldn't be in the relegation battle. Now it seems to all have clicked with these new signings and coming in. So again, at the moment, it's just get to 40 points and let's see what happens. But there's definitely a bit of we've got a few players in that have really shone. And I think obviously coming into the game, just going into the Man City game, because I know again they're a bit of you've obviously it's a team that you always seem to be, and again, it put a little smile on your face. Were you expecting that going into the game? Were you expecting that going into the game, or in terms of what we play? Because regardless of what manager you've had, you've always managed to turn up against Man City.
Yeah, we beat Man City with Nuno Santo, and Kane. We didn't even know if Kane was going to stay with us, and he didn't even feature. No, I didn't expect us to beat Man City. I was very surprised with how inept Man City were. Like, yes, they dominated us with possession, but flipping hell, Emerson Royale. I had no idea that he could do some of the things he did in that game. And, you know, he's been like one of my least favorite players, and he did something like that, and he's earned himself a starting place against Leicester, I feel. I thought as well, what was really, hey, big up Ryan, prick. I thought as well, you know, Haaland, how absent he was. And it just went to prove my point, because I had this argument with someone the other day saying I'd still rather have Kane and Haaland. You know, I'm not saying that Kane is levels above Haaland, and I'm not, you know, downgrading Haaland in any way, but they're two different kind of strikers. And the reason why, you know, Kane scored was because he was the better player. That, never mind striker, he was the better player that game. He relied on his teammate Højbjerg to trap City out by breaking the play. He was there at the right time. It was clever thinking, clever tactical minded decision making, and that's how we won the game. And Haaland was simply relying on those runs the whole time, which he kept getting sussed out by Romero. And Romero has been sent off. So, you know, where does that leave us now? Because I'm not keen on Davis, Dyer, Sanchez, Lonley. I'm not keen on any of them. I wouldn't mind risking it, actually, putting Emerson Royale as a centre back, because he played as if he was a centre back the way he was sussing out Jack Grealish, and then have Pedro Porro as a right wing back. Because, you know, we're going to be up against some very pacey players as well, you know, with the likes of Harvey, but I don't know what side he plays on. Left. Okay, so Pedro Porro would be up against Harvey Barnes, so I wouldn't mind bringing him in for this sort of game, because, you know, I know you've had a bad season, but you're not mugs. Like, I can see you lot staying in the Prem, and you will be up for it. And you know, I think you're having a bad season, but you always seem to come out stronger in seasons after. I don't know whether you'll still keep hold of Brendan Rodgers. I don't know if the owners will change their tune a bit. I don't know, but, you know, Leicester's always been a well-run club up until now, and I feel like, you know, they're that sort of club that will learn from their worst mistakes and then come out even better from it. I don't know.
And we have done in the January. Again, we've not bought I think you're right. We have got lost, though, because, again, we didn't sign anybody. And as you know, when you don't sign anybody, your club goes stale, and we just managers' tactics didn't work. And now we've signed a few players. It's just brightened up that squad, and you can just see it. It's this team that I've known has been hiding the entire time, and now it's just all come to light. And it's so frustrating, obviously, from our perspective. And as you were saying, like, obviously, Romero, you mentioned that. And then one thing I've got is obviously Son. He's not been having the best seasons, but he's still got a hat-trick against us last time. I don't think it'll happen this time, but what do you think? Why do you think it's not happened this season?
I think it's just a combination of players as a team not performing, and Son, for some reason, thinking he can take on the world. You got the thing about Son is that he was raised by his dad, and his dad was an absolute like nutter of a football coach, you know. Like, no, like seriously, he was. He punished Son if he didn't perform well enough. I know there was a story about him in Hamburg where he became overweight, and then when the season was over, he literally called his son back into career and put him in absolute tough training methods. So I feel like maybe Son has got some sort of pressure to like be even better than he was last season, you know, winning the Golden Boot and that. And then, of course, it's just all falling apart. Do I think that we should look for options to get rid of Son? No, because I think that would just be a little too fickle, considering, you know, the season he had from before. And, you know, I think Son played actually much better against City. I know he will be judged by having a good game or not, if he scored or not, but, you know, he made some very important runs, really scared City a lot. And you know, I think he's entitled to another chance. And you know, Kane. I remember Kane was like last season. Funnily enough, he was really underperforming, especially after all that City transfer rumors. And now, you know, he's just broken a record at Tottenham. So I think that maybe it's a combination of, you know, a hangover after a really good season, and you know, not finding his feet after that, and a combination of, you know, players as well not performing, and you know, giving him any source of supply. So I think that's what it is to me.
Fair enough. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there's I'm just looking at your table position at the moment. Obviously, still in a great position. But I know that obviously the Tottenham fans are not happy with obviously the way the club's run and things like that at the moment, and obviously the ownership, which I can understand from the outside. And I think, and Ant had a comment here about top four always seemed like never good enough, and it never seemed like there was ambition to go further. Okay, we're interested to hear what Sam thinks. So just get your thoughts on that. But obviously, in the position that we are at the moment, 39 points, just over halfway through the season. And again, is it kind of, as Ant was saying, kind of when you were in a good position, then there was never any drive to, right, we're going to go and we're going to challenge for the title?
Yeah, I would have said, like, you know, under Poch, top four was a good ambition until it got a little bit tiring of like not achieving or winning any silverware out of it. And being so close to it as well, you know, considering we reached the Champions League final. If I have to be honest, I'd rather win. I'd kind of do edge over winning some silverware over getting top four. Having said that, though, finishing in the top four, it kind of puts your club in a status of achievement and players wanting to go there. But the issue is our owners, and you know, I'm not saying they don't spend a single penny, but there seems to be like too much minimal work where it's like, right, we've got you a few players now, shut up. That's not how a top football club works. Does a top football club, you know, focus more of their PR on the stadium rather than on the club? Does like a top football club put a flipping Beyonce concert on the same day as an FA Cup final? Considering, you know,
really, is it the same day?
Yes, it's the same day, and normally we like open the stadium and let fans buy tickets to sit in their seats, and there'll be like screening events on the pitch. But you can't do that now because Jay-Z's missus is performing on stage. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, and then, you know, in the January transfer window, when we wanted to complain, our Tottenham Hotspur support trust came back to us saying that they'll get back to us after the transfer window, which I thought was a bit of a coward response. Like, why can't you be accountable about it now? And then also, once that was all done, they responded back, but with a very flippant response, like as if we don't really know what we're talking about, saying that I can assure you, you know, these are the costs of what we put into the club. These are the costs of players that we've put in. And we went to great lengths to signing just one player, which we left to the very last minute and almost lost out on. So unfortunately, you know, if it was a club like Leicester finishing in the top four, it would seem more exciting. But a club like Tottenham finishing in the top four, it just seems like it's the same old, you know.
Yeah, it shouldn't be just top four and then that's it. It should be top four and right, what we're going to do from here. And if we are going to get top four, what's the next step? Because you look at the likes of Newcastle, you can just see the ambition there. Even though they're playing within their means at the moment, the ambition is to go the full way. And you will see certain teams. You've seen, obviously, with you on 39 points again, we'll get the table back up at the moment. There's been a drop off of, like, for example, what's it called? Chelsea, Liverpool. And so there's an opportunity for you to get top four there. And then Newcastle obviously cementing that position with Manchester United. So there is an opportunity this year to get top four that there's just not been. I mean, Fulham, Brentford, Fulham, Brighton, like them clubs are doing super well as well. But does it feel like just a missed opportunity for you at the moment in terms of where we are? Again, season's not over. You're only 1 point away, but could have been a lot worse.
That's just in the present moment, and that's before finding out, that Lloris is injured for 6 weeks. So, have we really found any resources backup? No. Have we, dealt with any issues? Should we be put in this position? Not really. So,
just saying as well, Brighton are 2 games in. If they win their 2 games in hand, they're ahead of you.
I know. That's the problem. And despite that win against City being incredibly important, it's we're still a long way to go, and there's no good in show. And I've seen this before from last season. Last season when we beat them 3-2 at the Etihad, we lost to Burnley away the game after. So this is I'm not going to start listening to this fake hype of this is a sign of a turnaround, because it just isn't. We do have incapable players who can't fit the standards of a consistent top 4 side, and we're just breaking through our luck, and we could even lose at the King Power, because you've put yourself in some good form now after beating Leicester 4-2. I do have a new topic I actually want to bring up. I was thinking about it earlier just before the stream, but you see, I don't know if this is just football Twitter or particularly Leicester football Twitter, but I'm seeing tweets like Leicester are now, especially after you won the FA Cup, Leicester are now officially a bigger club than Tottenham, which I kind of find a bit of a ridiculous statement, because I thought that defining by a bigger club means actual history, which dates back, to the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. In my opinion, I think Leicester have been a better club than Tottenham have in the last, 5 or 6 years. But to say a bigger club, I think, is just taking the piss a little bit, because it's about trophy count end of the day. And, no disrespect at all to Leicester. It's a humble trophy count. But you have won stuff more recently than us, which I do give you.
Yeah, and it's the way you compare your
thoughts on that.
Yeah, so what it is, I think you are a bigger club, but we have won more in recent history. That's how you summarize it in a sentence. We've done in terms of winning the FA Cup, winning again Community Shield, counts as a half trophy, because of, again, we don't come across it very often, and obviously the Premier League. We've done more in that time, but Leicester fans don't want to be associated with the Big Six. You are a Big Six club, but we've won something. Do you see what I mean? So in the same way that Newcastle are a big club, but they're not top 6. Similar kind of vibe. Because I can go anywhere in the world and I could probably find a Tottenham fan. I won't be able to find a Leicester fan.
I'd say everywhere around the country you may find a Tottenham fan. Around the world,
yes.
I don't think we're that global as people make us out to be. It's an
underdog element. From speaking to other fans internationally, there's I don't want to pick a top team that wins things, but I want a team that's nearly there. I'll pick Tottenham.
Yeah, I can somewhat agree with that. Maybe an underdog element to it, like you said, but if we put things into perspective, we do have a big fan base in parts of Asia, mainly South Korea, but that's mainly because of Heung-min Son, and that was the complete same with Jae-sung Park when he was at Man United. So that's kind of more of just a given. Not that I see it as a bad thing. I quite like to see, you know, a Korean fan base coming all the way to see, you know, someone who's quite frankly a big icon. And I say fair play to that. But then if you go to like, I don't know, like parts of Europe, unlikely. America, you might have your fair pot of the luck if you look in the right places, and bits of Australia too. And I'd say that's about it. I mean, I'd say, you know, with Leicester, you probably do have a more of a global fan base than you think you do, you know, particularly in Thailand, because your owners are from there. And I know that Leicester was a big thing for Thailand when you won the league. So, you know, everyone, you know, I swear as well that, you know, you came across, because I was looking through your channel, you came across an Israeli Leicester fan.
So we try and get on other fans from other countries, and because we, again, as you know, it's a smaller fan base. I was like, right, try and shout about them. We know there's somebody from Holland coming over. We've had interviewed before. We've had one from Korea. I actually asked him about Son as well, which was really interesting about the relationship between Son and Korea, which was South Korea, which was really interesting. So yeah, we've had other fans on from other countries, but they're few and far between, which is why we make a big, as you know, we make a big deal out of them, because the time they have to get up to watch football, I just find incredible.
Yeah, no, that is a madness. In all fairness, you know, we do get that with our American fan base. They have to get up pretty early. You know, I was in New York during the World Cup and had to get up early a couple of times just to watch like a few, you know, not too early actually, just, you know, already at the pub drinking a pint at 10 a.m. Let's say, like that's probably the earliest. But that's early for me though. I'm not used to morning games. You see, even though we have 11:30 kickoffs. Sorry, even if we have 11:30 kickoffs, you know, 10 a.m. that's like a huge difference for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's interesting to hear again about the situation. Then one player that's kind of that has been performing. I've not heard of much of him recently, but Kulusevski again, he's still playing. Still on that right hand side, was amazing. But what have you made of him so far this season?
Absolutely love him. I think last season he was definitely one of the missing link. I think Bentancur deserves some respect in that category and conversation too. What can I say? You genuinely don't need pace to be on the wing, because if you've got great footwork, you've got the crossing ability, and even drag it through like a short cross, which he has done before. You know, I think the guy ticks all the boxes to have a place at Tottenham. And, you know, it's good as well that we've got an obligation to buy him. So at least, you know, I can be put aside to any of those Arsenal muppets who reckon they could try and steal him from us, because that just ain't going to happen. I don't even get it from Arsenal fans sometimes when they just like make such a big deal about players that we have that were Arsenal fans or looked up to Arsenal in their childhood. Like, who cares? That goes out the window as soon as you become a professional footballer. Like, I've heard stories that Dennis Bergkamp, I think, might have been a Spurs fan. I might have got this wrong. I mean, yeah, fine, also, club legend in all fairness, but I don't care.
It just depends on the club as well, and it's just something that they have, like in the same way that Arsenal fans, a couple of them, so even people that I know in real life, where the day that they beat us 2-1, before we won the league, there was lots of celebrations around that, and I remember going, "We're still ahead of you." And again, I felt distraught, but we 10 men, we held on. Danny Welbeck gets the last minute winner. I was like, "Okay, that's fine," and we went on to win the league. And it's been a few instances. There's been 5 players that have been linked to Arsenal, and that have been. He deserves to come to. So it started with Jamie Vardy, N'Golo Conte, Riyad Mahrez, then recently James Maddison and Yuri Tillemans all have gone. And I've heard from so many Arsenal fans, you should give him to us. He deserves to come, blah, blah, blah. And it just never happened. So I'm not too, unless it happens, unless somebody actually comes out and reports it that's reputable, then it's not worth talking about, in my opinion. There was interest, but if you're not going to put a bid in, I always say it's like, if you're going to go into a car dealership and go, "I'm interested in the car," they'll go, "Great, put down a deposit and then we can talk." But if you're just going to keep saying you're interested, it doesn't really mean anything until you actually commit to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. We got those issues too when it comes to the transfer window. It's annoying. I Anta's been on the stream, and I've spoken to him about Leicester before, and I think I remember last season he started saying, it's starting to reach the fan base a bit that Brendan Rodgers might not be all that, and might be Brendan Rodgers out. And I don't know why, for some reason, but when I told a lot of my mates in group chats, etc., saying, "Oh, Leicester fans aren't that happy with Brendan Rodgers," season after an FA Cup win, that was like immediately dismissed. And I don't know why. I don't know why it took a long time for that to reach the other fan bases. By the start of this season, it was live amongst everyone. It was live and it was kicking.
You saw it firsthand, though. You saw it firsthand.
Yeah.
What it is, it's not that he's a good manager. It's just that he's overstayed his welcome. And you could say the same thing with Jose Mourinho. When Chelsea fans were complaining about Mourinho, it wasn't that he was bad. It was just and Brendan Rodgers takes on that same vein of form. Well, he's never been at a club for more than 3 years. So we knew that things were, I could tell you what was going wrong, when was going wrong. At the moment, he's training us to death. We've got 4 ACLs, Sam. 4.
Oof.
That's like normally you have 1 and it makes the news, right? We've got James Justin and 3 academy players all with ACLs. Like there's little things, and he fired the doctor that's been there for 20 years and reporting his own staff. And we've just been plagued with injuries for the last 3 years. Little things like that you don't hear. It's just like, well, we want Brendan out. Well, yes, but it's why I like doing long form content. You can do a TikTok of 90 seconds but if you actually break it down, and that's why I like doing these. Sit with the fan, talk to them about it, and then you hear what the fans are saying rather than just which Brendan out. Well, we've got hours of why.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this whole doctor thing. That's new to me. That's very new to me, and that sounds quite concerning. I can't lie. I do wonder if footballers might be able to have the option to go and see their own private doctor if they feel as concerned as the fans do, but I don't know the answer to that. I think I remember seeing as well, it was a youth game between Leicester and Wolves, I think. And someone did a horrible, nasty, vile injury. And that kid was only just getting started.
And he was one of our talented kids from the academy. And yes, he was one of them. Will Alves was one of them. One of the 4. However, normally you have an ACL and it makes news. But we've got 3 now. So 4, including him. Drop that one, you're still on 3. So James Justin, Sammy Braybrook, and there's one more that I'm forgetting the name of. Not Fitzhugh. The left back Flynn, which is just annoying and you've seen our injury record as well. And it was the same thing at Liverpool when he was there. He's training them too hard. And again, it's frustrating. But again, you've heard me on Shameless talk about this again and again. Not because I rate my team, but I could just see why the things he's getting wrong. And the fact is, we were in the Premier League, we were in the relegation zone for a long period of time. We shouldn't. You saw the team we've got. It's not that similar, and his management style not a fan of. In terms of when things were going wrong for him, he just threw his toys out the pram. And for me, a good sign of a good manager, and we've seen this with Rodgers, where you go, get people together, band the team together. It's us versus the world, and we'll go and we'll do that. And we've not seen that of recent until he gets his own way, which is really just sad, in my opinion.
Sounds like it's got authority complex or something.
Yeah. Very Mourinho-esque. And he obviously they were together at Chelsea and he kind of trained under him. There's lots of similarities there.
So an Irish, or rather Northern Irish version of Jose Mourinho. Interesting.
Yeah. Without the trophies and that to really lock it down. So, do you know what? I appreciate him, and he will get us out of the relegation zone, but I don't believe he's the right man to take us forward. And that's how I'm looking at it now, because before it was just get out because it was just terrible. But coming back to like Tottenham, obviously you've got Porro. I know he's only had one, he's not even had an appearance yet, but it would be hard to judge. But what do you think of the signing when he finally signed for you?
Well, I was delighted that we got a proper right wing back, because this was before I'm not going to be fickle as well. I still do not rate Emerson Royale overall, but I am willing to give him a chance for next upcoming games because of the performance and shift he put in. But we also played Sporting in the Champions League, and I remember watching Pedro Porro just dictating that that play at the back, especially playing from the back, from keeper to the striker, dictated by him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we lacked so much when playing at the back. We got a keeper who's unsure. We got 3 centre backs when playing together who look clueless who to pass to. But Pedro Porro and his teammates confidently playing one of the best games of passing I've ever seen. It's up there. The best I've ever seen was obviously in the Champions League in 2018-19 season when we played against Barcelona. But that's Spanish football for you. That's how they play, end of the day. So, I'm very excited to see Pedro Porro play. And, he's also a free kick specialist as well. Kane can't score a free kick. Son can do that for South Korea, but for Tottenham, it just doesn't work somehow. Dyer.
Was it Kulusevski on free kicks before this?
I don't remember. It might have been. It was either Kane, Son, or Dyer. That's what I thought it was. But, if you think it might have been Kulusevski, then if it was, I may have mistaken Dyer to Kulusevski from where I was sitting, because I usually sit quite high up. But with Pedro Porro in the team now, and it's not just going for goal either. It's set pieces as well. And, if you've got players like Kane or Son or even Bentancur now, because Bentancur seems to get at the end of those set pieces, like how he won against Bournemouth. So, it's a very valuable asset, what he can offer, but it's not enough. You can't rely it down to one player. We need 11 players in the team, not, 2 or 3. That's how it is.
Yeah. No, it makes sense as well in terms of it makes sense. I agree with you. I think a point you mentioned earlier about you do need a full team. And before we finish, I will get onto the manager a little bit more. I've got one from Chester that's to talk about again. I'd be more confident, but 2 weeks ago. But Harry Kane again is a pain again for us. I think I've got a stat here from for Gary, who's been on the show before. Made this, or again he made this. 9.9% of Kane's goals has got. If he scores 2 this weekend, he's got 9% of his goals in total have been against Leicester. 18 in total. Again, it's insane because a lot of
didn't even know that.
No, I didn't know until Gary mentioned it. It could, if he scores 2, he goes up to 9.9% of all goals in the Premier League. Harry Kane has scored against Leicester.
Did he score? Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, no, you wouldn't want to hear about that game the last time we played you at the King Power. I'm trying to remember.
Oh yeah. I remember that. We did a post match there, and we ripped our hair out because
I don't blame you.
God. And we took that. Hey, we took that bottling trophy from you then. It's true.
You know what it is?
We did, yeah.
I was still in shock. Oh my God, no! I remember. The Jamie Vardy lookalike Lee Chappie.
Yeah.
Chappie, I was on his live watch along, and he was so shook. Like, I was doing my live reaction, not live watch along. Like, I just have a camera, and then I press the button if I feel like something's about to happen. And then I just went on his live watch along, and I was just trolling the F out of him because he was just saying, "Oh, you're a smaller club. You've won it full. Oh, you're Tim Pot. Oh, what have you won? Look what I've won. Look what my green screen shows." All love to him, though. I absolutely love the guy. He's making great content, but you've got to wind him up when moments like that happen, and then he starts talking about that. And honestly, even though I enjoyed every moment of it, I couldn't blame him how annoyed he was feeling. And that Stevie Bergwijn moments of madness was just like, to score 2 in the last minute. And the funniest thing was he was already on a yellow card because of, I think, that little face-to-face thing he had with... Yes, it was. Yeah. I thought he was going to get himself sent off, to be honest, when that happened. But
I wish he was, because it would have won.
When he scored, I didn't even know about this until a few weeks after it happened. When he scored, he tried to jump into the crowd already on a yellow card, and Højbjerg just grabbed him, saying, No, don't jump in the crowd. Don't jump in the crowd. But it was pure ecstasy. I wish I was there at that game. I've been to the King Power as well, but that was when we lost 2-1 in Brendan Rodgers' first season. And when both teams had a goal disallowed. I think you won 2-1, I believe. But that game was just a rocket of emotions. I didn't feel any source of happiness until the last
Yes.
seconds of the dying
I
game.
remember that game. I was
Basically,
at the game. Madison last
yeah,
like 83rd minute free kick. Was it that
yeah.
one? Yeah.
So we dominated you, and we had shot after shot, and then you went 1-0 up from I forgot his name. I
Jamie
think he used to
Vardy.
play. No, it wasn't Jamie Vardy. It was Lookman, I think.
Oh no, that was last year.
Yeah,
That we
last
only had
season.
Lookman last season. I'm trying to
No,
think.
I'm talking about the game from last season. I think it was Lookman, and then Kane went one. Then Kane equalised. Then we were dominating you again, and then it was James Maddison that went 2-1 up, and then it was Stevie Bergwijn for the other 2 goals. I think.
Oh, for that game. Okay, I
Yeah,
was thinking of the reverse fixture, the other fixture, because that one's just burnt out of my mind. Even though we've done a post match on it, and
yeah.
again we had a Canadian guy
Oh yeah,
absolutely
3-1.
raging.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
3-1.
was.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that game.
Yeah,
3-1.
it,
I was
but it
at the
was
game as well, but yeah.
But yeah, there was. So just again, last thing before again we kind of finish up. Antonio Conte. So again, it's a weird situation with with him kind of running down his contract, but not refusing to sign one, but then complaining
Yeah.
about the players. I just wanted to get thoughts on him, the situation at Tottenham, and how the fans feel about him.
Well, it's not a healthy relationship, obviously, having a board that,
Hmm.
say these claims saying we are backing or we will back him, whichever pick you want to go for. And then
Hmm.
Conte, I'm really happy that Conte is actually like raging and speaking out because he's sharing and echoing our frustration as a fan base.
Hmm.
But my only issue is that, you know, what are you going to do with Conte then? Because there's no point keeping hold of him. Because I feel like Conte is just trying to make the best out of a bad situation by just staying there. He's getting paid loads, and I don't blame him. He is there for a paycheck as well as wanting to try and improve a team. And I'm just like wondering what's the actual ambition here? Are we just here to like get big name managers and hope for the best? Because these are the same group of players that have let their previous managers down. They let Poch down, they let Mourinho down, Nuno Santo was never a rated manager, but his tactics were mainly his fault. But again, the players also didn't really play for him. And then Conte, says I can't do miracles, and he's right, because these players, would any other top 6 side go for them? I don't even think Leicester would even want to try and go for any of these players, because I still think there are some standards inside of you, despite having a bad season. So
I don't think so. No, I genuinely
yeah,
don't. But also, with the profile of player that we have, we wouldn't. We go for young, upcoming players. That's just how we do business. So, the only one that really fits that mold is Romero.
yeah,
And
Romero,
out of them,
and I mean, obviously we've loaned out Spence, but you would have
Sessegnon, yeah, maybe as well.
Sessegnon is not even a young player anymore in my books. He's like, I think he's 23, and that's I know I'm not saying 23 is old. It's not, but you're a professional footballer at that age.
Yeah.
If you haven't made it in this current day and age by 21 or 22, then you'll never be a professional footballer in your lifetime. 23 is not young, and Sessegnon is not a young player. And again, don't rate him. Doesn't take his man on. Too scared often when going for one-on-one challenges. It's just like that's not how a wing-back should play or perform. So I don't even think Leicester would want to take hold of him, because he's not a young and upcoming player. He's now, approaching the prime years of his career. Yeah, I'd say it's just Romero or Spence. Because yeah.
What about the other way around? Again, I'll get Leicester's lineup from the last game. Just be interested to get your take on who you would take from a Leicester perspective. Who you would take from a Leicester perspective at your
Yeah,
club at the
show me your
moment.
squad.
I'm just trying to get it up at the moment, so give me a couple of moments. But I'll give you the front three. We've got Tete, Barnes, and Iheanacho, who's your front three.
I don't think we really need much backup for the wingers. We got Danjuma, we got Kulusevski, we've got Son. I'm trying to think if there was another player.
So there's the team we've got. So there was links to you and Tillemans in the summer as well. I think there was a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this team has been rebuilt. That back four is pretty much rebuilt from last year, apart from Castagna.
Yeah.
Christensen's brand new, looking great. Fast is looking great. I think he'd be great for you guys as well, but we love him at Leicester. Maddison, probably. You take Maddison.
I was about to go on to him because I would take Maddison, but then where can you put him in the team? Because Conte doesn't really do cams.
No, but you still take him as a squad player.
Yeah, I take him as a squad player, but what? I mean, can he play on the wing?
No. He'd play in that Eden Hazard 2016-2017 role.
I don't think Conte will be using Maddison much, and it's not because he won't rate him, and not because I don't rate. I do rate James Maddison a lot. You know, I know he said some. I know he said some shit about us. You know, and Gareth Bale in past tweets. Yeah. I think he was an Arsenal fan. I think, but I'd still take him for the quality he can offer. But I don't think he will fit Conte's style of play, unfortunately. But again.
But
maybe Tillemans. Tillemans, I would take.
Tillemans over who have you got? Bentancur and Højbjerg.
Basuma.
Yeah. It's pretty tight though. In terms of even squads at the moment, I'd say they're pretty even. If you look at the quality of them, I'd say we're pretty even.
I'll take your goalkeeper, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I mean
he's peaking at a 6 out of 10. But we think he's a number 2 goalkeeper, and we've never had that because, again, Schmeichel left because of Brendan Rodgers. Again, another thing that people left all of a sudden. A player doesn't leave after 11 years of loving this club and loving what it meant. He doesn't leave after that period of time. And also, you know, some players they're linked. Harry Kane linked and linked and linked and linked. Schmeichel came out of nowhere.
Wow. Well, it must have been a big upset for him to go. Exactly. It wasn't like he was declining either, was it?
We were thinking about bringing in somebody else, but it was with goalkeepers they go on for longer, and he was only 37, so it is old, but it's not for a shot stopper.
It wasn't declining enough to be kicked out of the club.
No, and they wouldn't have kicked him out. He was phenomenal. If you look at the celebrations that he did with the owners when they won the FA Cup, he knows how much the owners mean. But yeah, he was at the scene when that horrible tragedy happened, and he ran towards. Yeah, exactly. He ran towards the helicopter.
He bleeds Leicester. There's no question of it.
And he left in a week. It was so strange. So strange. But again, that's another kind of story that people don't want to talk about Brendan Rodgers because, again, the ownership wasn't a problem. It was obviously... And just recently, Mark Albrighton, Leicester legend at this point, obviously winning the league. Brendan Rodgers made him vice-captain and then sent him out the door 6 months later, less than 3 months later. Make sense? I don't understand it either. Little things like that, you're like, that doesn't make sense. Why have you done that? And it's not even not make sense. It's like, treat our legends with respect, and he's obviously not.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so again, been great to have you on, Sam. Thanks for the chat. Again, I've left your Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram down below, but feel free to plug away yourself as well.
Yeah, you've plugged my Instagram, my Twitter, my YouTube. YouTube is the most important thing to me. I'm sure it is for you as well. So I will plug that in. I'm a Spurs content creator, and I've also recently been starting to do ground hopping in a series called Through the Turnstiles. Maybe one day I can go and visit Leicester's ground, even though I've already been there for Through the Turnstiles neutral ground hopping content. Who knows?
If you're down, let me know. I can get tickets for it. So
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. That's where you can find me, Sam Chippeck. It's there in front of you. And not going to wish you luck for when we play you, but I'm sure it'll be a good game, and both teams will be up for it. Hopefully,
I think there'll be goals in it. I think there'll be goals, and Harry Kane.
There's always goals
against Leicester. So looking forward to it. Again, make sure you check out Cham. And also, again, I've just mentioned as well, your charity thing. Again, if you send me the link, I'll leave that down below as well. So yeah, feel free to plug that as well.
Thank you. It's on the link is there on my stadium video. You can just copy it and paste it there.
Cool. Sounds good.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
No worries. Again, with donator, make sure again Sam's got a donation fee. He's going to walk to every single ground in London. So again, make sure you click that link below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you go follow Sam. We'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.